ever wanted to have a say in what movies are chosen for watch-alongs on YouTube channels? Do you want to have your voice heard? Are you disappointed in the channel owner's choices? Now you can. Dead Eights on Deck wants to know what content you want to see discussed. Stop by my live streams for your chance to pick the next watch-along I cover. Throw your hat in the ring when you give $5 or more in Super Chats during my next live stream.
Howdy, gang, and howdy. Can't even talk. I was dozing off earlier to my dear husband who shows up to many of these streams, if not all of them, even though he's working. So I appreciate it, Steve. And I appreciate anybody else that wants to stop by and see what I'm talking about on these live streams. Sorry for the delay in getting the notice out that I was doing this. Yeah, till next week. That's right. Then Steve probably won't be, he probably won't be hanging around in these after that because he's going back on day shift. And probably by the time I do these, he'll probably be resting and relaxing. So, before we get into this apples and oranges, which is going to be best horror and non-horror Thanksgiving films of all time, in my opinion, in Steve's opinion, if he wants to throw some movies out there, anybody else that comes into the chat that would like to, throw some movies out there, I'd love to hear everybody's opinions on this, because this is apples and oranges. The poet, it most certainly does. The Charlie Brown Thanksgiving would count. In my eyes, it counts. So, yeah, good one. Usually I think about the Charlie Brown stuff, but I just, for Thanksgiving, I completely forgot it. And I've actually seen the Charlie Brown Christmas. I think it's on one of my discs. I can't remember if it's probably... Oh goodness, it's probably on the Christmas one, the Christmas 4K I got, and probably the Blu-ray probably has it too. But before I get into that, I want to, once again announce, because this is a live stream before we get started, I am doing something now where if you are financially able and you feel compelled to give $5 or more in super chats during a live stream, videos don't count, pre-recorded videos don't count, but live streams do. So if you give $5 or more in super chats during a a live stream that I'm doing, and watch alongs count, okay? So just to let you know, though, the two movies for this weekend have already been chosen. Dakota gave $5 in super chats, and he was the only one. And so I reached out to him and asked him if he'd like to pick a movie, and he picked Eli Roth's Thanksgiving. So I will be doing that watch along Saturday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Sunday's offering is from Menelect, who gave a $10 super chat. And he picked a 2011 film, The Tunnel, which you can watch on Tubi, folks. You can probably watch it other places as well, but I do know you can at least watch it on Tubi. Goodness gracious. It is a found footage horror movie from Australia, I believe. So that one will also be at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, and that'll be on Sunday night. But if somebody wants to give $5 or more in super chats tonight, if you are the only one, you will get to pick the next watch along movie that I do. If there are two people that give $5 or more in super chats, one will get to their pick on Saturday, the other will get their pick on Sunday. If there are more than that, that's when I have to do a drawing. And rest assured, I will do a drawing with a hat, and I'll put all the movies that people picked in there, and we'll draw them out. Okay. Um, so I will pre-record that so you guys know I'm not doing anything shady, okay? And trying to be fair in all this. So just wanted to explain that once again before we get started with the movies. And goodness gracious, folks, I'm yawning my crazy head off. So let me take myself out of the stream. Please don't anybody leave. I'll be right back. I'm just going to grab myself something to eat. Maybe it's my blood sugar. I'm not really sure. So I will be right back. Okay, I'm back. Steve, I'm guessing you're, is that something like to eat and drink? That looks like the Statue of Liberty there, Steve. Gang, I really thought when I started back on the vitamins it was going to help me stop being tired, but unfortunately, I still feel tired. Sure. I'm not sure if I got it right or not. So, y'all just permit me a minute or two. I hate to always be eating or something on here, but it never fails. I get on here and start yawning. I can't do two words and start yawning. And anybody that's diabetic or knows someone that's diabetic, you know that sometimes when you start yawning a bunch, it means that your blood sugar is getting low. And that's the last thing I want to do on here is like have an episode on here, a low blood sugar episode on here while I'm live on the stream. Although it might be a little bit of excitement, right? So while I'm eating this, before we get to the movies, has anybody been watching that Monsters on Netflix about Lyle and Eric Menendez? I mean, that whole real life crime was insane and vicious and all that. But this Netflix show, oh my gosh, um, it's wild. Very gory too. The first episode, I watched the first episode and then part of the second episode. The poet, you say your pick is planes, trains, and automobiles. I absolutely love planes, trains, and automobiles. The poet, um, which I'll go on and tell you, planes, trains, and automobiles is going to get an honorable mention for me. And I'm sorry if you hear two of my girl dogs carrying on here. Girls, Zoe and Darcy are playing. I think Zoe thinks that Darcy is her baby or something. She or thinks she's a puppy. But yeah, planes, trains, and automobiles definitely gets an honorable mention because it run too close to the one I picked for my non-horror. Girls, come on now. But anyway, before I lose anybody else, let's go ahead and get to these movies. And if anybody comes on here while I'm on here and wants to come on live with me, you're welcome to. If you want to talk about a movie, if, like I said, if you feel so compelled to give a super chat, you can throw your hat in the ring to be able to pick one of the next watch along films. So, anyway, the first up, the horror Thanksgiving film that I wanted to talk about. And people are probably thinking, is she going to pick Eli Roth Thanksgiving? Is she going to pick Home Sweet Home? Is she going to pick Thanksgiving? No, not picking any of those, although I do very much like Eli Roth's Thanksgiving. This has been a favorite of mine for several years since I discovered it, and that is Blood Rage. And by the way, speaking of Blood Rage, Fright Rags has some shirts on sale now. I may have to get me that Blood Rage shirt. It's just too cool not to get, because this Thanksgiving it's not cranberry sauce, folks. If you've not seen Blood Rage, and Arrow Video came out with this a few years back. I think it was one of the releases that was actually delayed, and I was like clamoring, chomping at the bit to get this one because I discovered this film under the title Nightmare at Shadow Woods. And the main reason I sought it out was this is back when I was trying to watch everything that Ted Raimi had been in, even the smallest part. And this is a very small part for Mr. Raimi. It's a blink and you'll miss him performance as a condom salesman in a drive-in bathroom. Folks, I ask you, how many times have you seen that in a movie? I haven't. You know, you may have seen condom machines, but I've never, other than this movie, if somebody can name another movie where this young guy's selling condoms in a drive-in bathroom, I want to seek that movie out just because it just seems so outrageous. Ted Raimi has no lines during his part. He just mainly opens up his vest. He's got all these condoms in it, and the guy says, "I want Trojans," and he pays him $1 or whatever, and gets his condom, and then goes to have fun, because you know what some young people, or quite a bit of the young people, like to do at drive-ins back in the day. Maybe they still do. I don't know, of the few drive-ins that are out there. So, another thing that is just so wild about this is Louise Lasser plays a single mother who looks way too old to be doing what she's doing in the front seat of a car. And why? she didn't find a babysitter for her boys. Maybe she didn't trust anybody. I don't know. This is Louise Lasser from Mary Hartman, Mary Hartman. And it was just so weird to see her making out at a drive-in with a guy that looks very similar to Bruce Campbell. Louise Lasser always seemed like an odd choice. But later on in the film, when you see her doing some strange things, it kind of fits in this weird sort of way. So we've got Louise Lasser as a single mom. She's got her twin boys, Terry and Todd, supposedly asleep in the back of the car. And she all of a sudden, I got to check on my boys. I got to check on my boys. And then it looks like they're asleep. And she goes back to making out with this guy. And the boys sit up, they wake up, and they're like, Mom's at it again. And so they decide to leave the car. And we discover that Terry is not right in the head. He's not quite right in the head. And he decides to get a little hatchet and start chopping up the people at the drive-in, and including the guy that bought the condom from Ted Raimi's character. Okay, so he chops him up pretty good. If you watch the uncut version of this, which this release right here has 3 different versions, I think. So if you watch the uncut version, you will see these gory murders in all their glories. So we're back, we see, Terry, sorry. I get their names mixed up all the time. Terry, you see Terry kill this guy. And then real quickly rub blood on his brother Todd's face and put the hatchet in his hand, and then start screaming for their mom. He's like, Mom, Mom, Mom. And before that, we see her making out again with the guy she's with. And she all of a sudden, she says, I got to check on my boys one more time. The guy's had it by this time. He's like, this is it. He said, I should have known never to date a woman with kids. And a woman that would bring her kids to the drive-in with her on a date. And so she's like, all right, we'll go. And she looks back there, and her boys are not back there. My boys are gone. My boys are gone. And about that time, she hears Terry screaming, Mom, Mom. She comes running up there, discovers blood smeared all over Todd's face, and him holding the hatchet. He's catatonic now because of what he's seen his brother do. So guess what? He gets sent off to the mental hospital. Now, another weird thing about this is that they refer to the mental hospital all the time as a school. When Todd escapes, they say, Todd's escaped from his school. It's like, it's not a school, it's a mental hospital, okay? So, they find out on Thanksgiving Day that Todd has escaped from his school. And Louise Lasser tells, her character's name is Maddie on there. She tells Terry, she takes him aside and she says, your brother's escaped from a school. Let's not ruin Thanksgiving dinner for everybody. And just go out there and don't say anything. Okay. And she's just announced that her and the apartment complex manager of the apartment complex they live in are getting married. Evidently, they've been dating for a while. And as soon as Terry goes back out to the table, he says, well, looks like y'all are all going to get to meet the rest of the family. My crazy twin brother just escaped. And Maddie comes out and she looks at Terry like, why did you do that? But then she just sits there and she doesn't say anything anymore. We also find out that Maddie's got a little problem with the alcohol. And she drinks so much that she just sits on the floor in front of the refrigerator. The refrigerator door's propped open. And she's eating corn or green beans or something left over from the Thanksgiving dinner with her hands. And I'm like, golly, this woman is just weird. So Todd does eventually make it to the apartment complex, but it's not Todd that's killing people again, it's Terry. And so this movie is wild, it's exaggerated, it's off the wall, it's all of those things. And it tries to be funny at times, just like this Thanksgiving is not cranberry sauce. Terry keeps saying that's not cranberry sauce when he kills somebody and there's blood everywhere. That's not cranberry sauce. And some people might think, well, that's not clever at all, that's just stupid, you know. But I have a lot of fun with this, and I have a lot of fun with it every year now at Thanksgiving time. This is traditionally when I want to watch this movie, is around Thanksgiving. So although there are other Thanksgiving horror films, like I said, there's Eli Roth's Thanksgiving, there's Thanksgiving with the killer turkey, there's Home Sweet Home, produced, I believe, by Don Edmonds, and Don Edmonds also acts in it. But it's directed by Nettie Pena. I don't know who that is. Me and Steve have talked about that. In fact, we did a commentary for it a few years back, and Steve was saying he didn't know if Nettie Pena was a guy or a girl, a man or a woman. So, and I've never seen what Nettie Pena looks like, so I haven't a clue. But even though there are several, Thanksgiving horror films out now, I still continue to return back to Blood Rage. Although I like and enjoy the others each in their own individual little ways. So, again, Blood Rage is my pick for the best horror Thanksgiving film. Now, as I said, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, I've come to love this movie in the last several years. This was a movie, I don't know how it slipped on my radar. And I love it. And it's funny and dramatic in spots. And it's just, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles is a mix of a lot of favorite things for me. But a movie that edges it out just a little bit for me is this little gem, which is Home for the Holidays, starring Holly Hunter, Robert Downey Jr., and Bancroft. It's directed by Jodie Foster. And I discovered this one several years ago. I was still living with my parents at the time. I think it was one of those things where I was just channel surfing and came across Home for the Holidays. And I was like, okay, this looks interesting. And I started watching it. And it is so funny. It's all about a dysfunctional family on Thanksgiving. Holly Hunter's character has just been fired from her job at a museum where she fills in, damaged parts of paintings. But she's really an artist. We find out when she goes back home, her mother talks about this picture that she painted years ago of her brother, played by Robert Downey Jr., who we find out is gay, and has just married his partner, Jack. And so you have this going on. The family finds out about Jack, and him and Jack getting married, and their sister Joanne, who's kind of the hoity-toity, snooty sister that when they were kids, everything was fine, but after she became an adult, she um, doesn't doesn't think much of her brother and her sister, and so she's always giving them a hard time. So they did not know that Tommy, Robert Downey Jr.'s character, Joanne didn't know he was showing up. He wasn't supposed to show up for Thanksgiving. He was supposedly supposed to be out on the road. He sells liquor, different kinds of liquor to different places, and they thought he was going to be out on the road doing that. So he shows up at the house, and Claudia, that's Holly Hunter's character, is already there. And you can see that her and her brother Tommy have this really good relationship. They like to joke and carry on with each other. And Joanne is just outside of all of that. And they just all don't get along really well. Tommy and Claudia get along well. And at first, Claudia thinks that there's something wrong between Tommy and Jack because she hasn't really heard from him. And she wonders why Jack is not with Tommy. There's another guy with him, and she assumes that Tommy is with Leo. Turns out Leo is Tommy's business partner, and he's coming along because he saw a picture of Claudia. We're never really sure if he saw a naked picture of Claudia, but he saw a picture of her, and he evidently liked the way she looked. So, I just thought the way they handled the whole idea of a dysfunctional family on the holidays was, it was serious at times, but also lighthearted. So it had a really, really good balance. And you have the typical quirky characters that everybody has in their family. In this case, Aunt Gladdy. They go up and pick up Aunt Gladdy, their mom's sister. And the first thing Aunt Gladdy does when she gets in Tommy's sports car is she passes gas. And everybody knows a relative that has done that at one point or another. My granddaddy, I got to tell this funny story. My granddaddy used to have what we called the walking farts. And of course, at that time, he couldn't hear. So he would be walking across the floor going like that. And we would always just laugh. I mean, my granny would laugh. My mom would laugh. I would laugh. If any of the other grandkids were around or any of my aunts and uncles ever played, we'd just kind of snicker. And granddaddy was none the wiser about that. But, I have a whole bunch of stories like that about different things. Not all fart things, but everybody knows the family member that does that, right? And they either know they did it or they don't know they did it, right? Everybody knows about conflict in families. I've heard, secondhand stories about my dad and my uncle getting into it on Thanksgiving. Not like fist fights or anything, but they were arguing over something. And I think Dad just said, we're leaving, And I stayed home that night. I didn't go to my grand and papa's. Well, Papa had passed away, but I didn't go to Grand's house that Thanksgiving. I just stayed at home, and when Mom and Dad got home, Mom was telling me that Dad and my Uncle Mike got into it. And Dad just said, well, let's go. But, they've made up since then. But the point is, everybody has I think everybody has different levels of dysfunctional in their family. Everybody. Even the most normal family. And I feel like my family's relatively normal. Now, me, I'm not so normal, but my family is relatively normal. And I think because I realized that, I think that's why I gravitate so much to this film. And seeing the family dynamic a little askew is just, it's just fun. There are some more dramatic parts in the film, but one of my favorite parts of the whole film is when uh, Tommy is asked by his mother to cut the turkey or carve the turkey because his father has weak wrists. And their father's played by Charles Durning, and their mom's played by Anne Bancroft, which they work together just beautifully on screen. Um, and at first, Tommy doesn't want to, but then he says, "Oh, what the hell? I'll start carving this turkey." And him and Joanne are arguing back and forth. Joanne is across the table from him, and all of a sudden, I'm not sure how it does this, but the turkey flips over in Joanne's lap and she lets loose a string of curse words to Tommy, and Tommy's just, he can't help it. His dad starts laughing. Tommy gets out the Polaroid camera and takes a picture of Joanne while she's screaming at him. And then Claudia and Leo try to help, and they're lifting the turkey up, and all the juices run out on top of Joanne's head. I remember my mom taking a look at this movie while I was watching. She said, "What is this?" And she even found herself laughing at it. So I like the some of the taglines they have for this particular film, including this one. On the fourth Thursday in November, 84 million American families will gather together and wonder why. Haven't you ever wondered why? So definitely, if you've never seen Home for the Holidays, there is a horror film called Home for the Holidays. It's about Christmas. But this is Home for the Holidays with Holly Hunter and Robert Downey Jr. And I highly, highly recommend this. I actually was able to get this on Blu-ray from Shout Factory. This is actually one of their Shout Select offerings. So, yeah, I would highly, highly recommend Home for the Holidays if you can find it for free. First time around, because you may decide that you don't like Home for the Holidays. Okay, so I got to talk about this one too. This is the one the poet mentioned, and this is my honorable mention one because I could not leave this movie out because I love it so much. And that is Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. And we've got Steve Martin and John Candy starring in this. And this is directed by John Hughes. This is a laugh a minute, but this film also has heart, folks. And if you've seen Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, you know exactly what I'm thinking about. And I hope people don't think I'm cheating by talking about this movie as well instead of just picking one each. So you have Steve Martin's character of Neil Page, who evidently has to, I don't know if he stays in the city for so long and then flies back to his home. I think his home's in Chicago, but I think he must work. He must commute when he needs to by plane. So it's the last day before Thanksgiving holiday, and he's an advertising exec. I can't talk. Advertising exec or marketing person, something like that. And he has a plane ticket, and he's supposed to be there to board the plane. I think it's 6 p.m. And him and his business partner, they're waiting for their boss, I guess, to decide, along with these other people in this room, which ad he's going to go with. And Neil keeps pointing at his watch, and he's like, I got to go. He's mouthing that words. And when they finally get out of there, and he's running to the elevators, and his business associate says, "You're never going to make it. You're never going to get a taxi to the airport at this hour." But he gives it the good old college try, and he manages to get on the plane. And before he got on the plane, he meets John Candy. And John Candy is a shower ring salesman, of all things. Um, and his name is Dale Griffith. And I absolutely love John Candy, and I love Steve Martin as well. And I think that they really, really worked well together. So Dale claims he's trying to make it home for Thanksgiving as well. So they end up on this madcap adventure, each trying to make it home. And all kinds of funny things happen along the way. And some not so funny things, because at first Dale really irritates Neil. And Neil hurts Dale's feelings. But they keep coming back together over and over and over. And Neil runs into one mishap after the other, just trying to get home in time for Thanksgiving. And I don't want to give all this away, especially not what's really going on with John Candy, because there still may be people that have not seen this entire film, or maybe not seen it at all. But if you have not, and you can find a for free version of this, I urge you to find a for free copy of this one. Don't go out and buy it just yet. But I just know that most people are going to love this film. Actually, it surprised people that this was kind of like It's a Wonderful Life. When I told people I had never seen It's a Wonderful Life until maybe a couple of years ago, they were like, "Oh my gosh, really?" And so the same thing happened with Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. For some reason, I just never watched it. I heard about it, just like I heard about It's a Wonderful Life for years, but just for whatever reason, I didn't get around to watching them. I do too, the poet. You are certainly correct on that. You say, "I miss John Candy. His shoes are yet to be filled." Yeah, I don't think anybody will ever be able to fill John Candy's shoes. John Candy, for me, was one of those comic geniuses. But he was one of those comic geniuses with a heart, if that makes any sense at all. And I'm not saying that most comics or comedians are uh, assholes, or that they have no heart. It's just that John Candy always appeared to me to be a really, really super nice guy. I just don't think the guy had a mean bone in his body. He just, you'd see interviews with him, and he would just, give off that aura, I guess would be the best way to say that. So, um, I'm not really going to rate these. I didn't intend to get on here and rate them. I think you can tell by the way I talked about all these films that I really, really like them. The Poet, thank you for mentioning Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. I love actually having people, whether they're on here live on the stream with me or they're in the chat. I love hearing what you guys want to bring up as well. So, the Poet, again, thank you very, very much. But I guess I'm ready to call it a night. I've been on here a total of 40 minutes, almost 41 minutes. I'm going to do a few things around the house and get settled in for the night. Not that y'all need to know that. But I may just take Thursday off. I don't really have any plans for Thursday. But Friday at 6 p.m. Eastern Time, me and Candace should be doing another Friday Foolish. We're going to be talking about favorite horror writers other than Stephen King. So I've been thinking about a few. I'm sure Candace has been thinking about a few in between her college homework assignments. And then we've got these couple of watch alongs coming up this weekend. Again, Saturday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time will be Eli Roth Thanksgiving. And Sunday will be 2011's The Tunnel, a found footage horror film from Australia that you can watch on Tubi. And that will also be at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. And I guess that's all from me for tonight. I just want to thank everybody that showed up, whether you were in the chat or you were just watching. I appreciate you all. I appreciate all of you that will watch this on the replay. Thank you, guys and gals, for always supporting me and supporting my little channel. I hope to keep putting out entertainment, live streams and videos that you guys find enjoyable. And if you think of anything, that you'd like me to cover, a particular film that you'd like to review, please throw it my way. And also remember that during each of these live streams, including the watch alongs, if you give a super chat of $5 or more, you get to throw your hat in the ring to pick one of the next watch along films. So be sure to like and subscribe if you haven't already. That costs you absolutely nothing. You are under no obligation to me to like and subscribe, but if you like and subscribe, you're also under no obligation to me. It just helps the channel and helps the algorithms out and gets me out to more people, which is what I want to do. I don't have to have a ton of people, but I like to share what I'm talking about with other like-minded people. So if you have friends or family members that you think might be interested in the content I'm putting out, please share my channel with them. And I guess that is all. So I'm off like a dirty shirt. This shirt ain't dirty, but I'm off like one. And before I get off of here for the night, I'd like to remind everybody, as I always do before I get off of here, to be kind to one another and blaze that trail. You can pick up that shirt design and many, many more, plus candles and blended teas, and coming soon, mouse pads, tote bags, hopefully hats in the near future, tumblers, both stainless steel and frosted tumblers. And some holiday shirts are coming. And hopefully I'll be able to offer them in both t-shirts for those of y'all that like to wear t-shirts all year round, and hoodies and or sweatshirts as well. So that's all at deaditesondeck.com. And I'm out of here, folks, but y'all have a fantastic rest of your Wednesday. It's hump day. We're getting ever closer to the weekend. And I'm out of here for now, but I'll see everybody next time.